Hello.
Hello, Leon. How's it going, my friend? How's it going?
It's going well. I must ask, first of all, who are you?
First of all, thank you for having me on the show. Thanks to everybody who reached out, to have me on. Thanks to Bo. My name is Herb Lang. My nickname is Flight Time. I am a former Harlem Globetrotter, now motivational speaker, inspirational speaker. I played for the Harlem Globetrotters for 18 years. And during that span, Leon, I traveled to almost nearly 90 countries around the world. And a lot of people may remember me from losing on CBS's The Amazing Race 3 times, where I partnered up with my Globetrotter teammate, Nate Big Easy Lofton. And we, raced around the world for a chance to win $1 million. And we never won. But what we did win was the importance of, connecting, being kind, and just ability to see the world in a different view. So just excited to be here, man, and a big fan of what you do.
Wow, that you are a Harlem Globetrotter. I've seen you guys out there, right, doing all these little tricks, which is amazing. Right. But how did you become a Harlem Globetrotter?
Well, Leon, there's a long story that leads up to it, but it was through kindness. It was through someone believing in me more than I believed in myself at a certain point. And it's the story of a college friend of mine. He was a soccer player at my school in Shreveport, Louisiana, called Centenary College. We came in the same year back in '94, and we just became friends throughout the course of that 4 years. And I'm a 6'3" tall black guy. He's a 5'7" Asian guy. And we're kind of a bit of an odd couple. But after finishing up school, Alan is his name, Alan Sahatra. He ended up going to a Globetrotter game. And at this point, I had already graduated. But I was working in the gym as a personal trainer, working on my fitness, making sure I could stay in good shape just in case opportunity knocked. And it knocked just because of Alan going to the Globetrotter game and, just looking out into the court and seeing some of the things that they do with the dunking, because at that time I had tremendous leaping ability. And I remember coming home from work and Alan said to me, "Hey, man, I went to the Globetrotter game last night and, man, you can do all the things that they could do." And I just remember looking at him and saying, "I can't do all those tricks, all those things that you, Leon, just mentioned." But as a result, I ended up sending a video in to the Globetrotters, and they remembered me from being a college slam dunk champion back in 1998. And as a result, they invited me to their training camp, and the rest is history. So Alan and I are still good friends to this day, but that's kind of how it became about. And I was able and blessed enough to do it for 18 years.
Beautiful. Is it true that the Harlem Globetrotters have never lost a game?
Well, Leon, I have to let you know that absolutely is not true.
Oh.
Well, but I'll tell you this, though, Leon. Myself, every time that I played, because I played more on the performance entertainment side of the brand, I never lost. And I bragged to people. I said, I'm undefeated as a Globetrotter in my Globetrotter uniform. But those 3 times that I did lose was in front of the world on The Amazing Race, because I never came in first place to win $1 million. But the Globetrotters actually have lost games over the course of their nearly 95-year history.
Oh, wow. For some reason, I thought that they'd never lost, but clearly I'm English, so I have no idea about basketball.
But but that's okay. Back in the 50s, before they actually really became Globetrotters, they played against NBA teams and actually competed with them, actually beat a couple of those NBA teams. And actually early on, when I played with the team, we went to play different colleges and universities around the United States, and they took a couple of L's during that. Fortunately, I didn't play in any of those games, but I have been over to Britain many of times. One of my favorite places to actually go on tour with the Globetrotters.
So if you've been to Britain, you must have a favorite football team, soccer team. Be careful, because this conversation could end if you say your favorite team begins with an M.
Well, I'll tell you like this, Leon. I remember traveling to Manchester
Oh!
in the early 2000s and 99. And at that time, I think it was Manchester. Yeah, they were the big, soccer football team over there in the UK. And as I got later on in my career, it became Manchester City.
Yes.
Became the big team. So I haven't followed soccer as much as I have in the past, but I'm a big fan of the World Cup. I make sure that I watch that. But traveling to different countries like the UK and South America and Spain and those countries really gave me and opened up my eyes to how popular the sport of football was, because where I grew up in Arkansas, we didn't really have football or soccer the way that you guys have it over in the UK. But man, it's a great sport. And with the way that I'm built, I always tell people, man, I'm 6'3", I'm a little bit bow-legged, and my high school basketball coach used to say that I had tricky legs, so I probably would have been a decent soccer player if you tagged that along with my leaping ability.
So tell me, how did you go from being a Harlem Globetrotter to becoming a motivational speaker? And what do you speak about?
Okay, so that transition is pretty seamless, because one of the requirements to become a Globetrotter, not to become a Globetrotter, but to extend your career, is that you have to be able to be good with people. You know, you have to be able to represent the brand in front of corporations, in front of schools. We go to hospitals. And so we have training. And as a result of that training, sometimes you're out on tour with a veteran player like myself. Eventually, I became a veteran player with 18 years of experience. So we will put some of our younger players out with these guys and just teach them the ropes, how to interact with the crowd, as well as the in-room training. So over the course of 18 years, Leon, I was so blessed to be able to do so many things, to speak in front of hundreds or thousands of schools around the United States, visit so many hospitals, and just be a blessing to people who were, less fortunate than I was. And if it were not for the Globetrotters giving me that experience, I don't know where I would have been. One of the things that also prepared me for that too was a public speaking course that I took in college. Never did I really think that I would actually use this public speaking course, but it helped me advance my career, because 18 years, you can imagine, I wasn't leaping. My nickname was Flight Time, but I wasn't flying across the court for that entire 18 years. But after my career ended, I just knew that it was important for me to be able to share with the world. I feel like God and the universe showed me so much of the world that I ought to be able to go back and share what I've experienced. And when I'm talking to groups of people, I often talk about the importance of keeping excitement, for your success, because even though we get to several stages in our life, there's no reason that we can't continue to dream. Even when I think about myself, my dream was to become a professional athlete, whether it was American football, whether it was basketball, baseball. But as I got older, I saw basketball as the way that I was going to go, with that. But there's just so much opportunity around the world, and I want to be able to go back and share that. So that's what I do. I talk about, the importance of keeping excitement for your success. I talk about things that I've written in my book, Projects, Popes, and Presidents, and how kindness has helped me get to so many different places. And it's just an honor to be able to get in front of large audiences and talk about the people who have helped you advance your career and get you to where you are today.
Beautiful. And tell me, how did kindness shape you?
Kindness shaped me in so many different ways, Leon. Again, I talk about in my book, Projects, Popes, and Presidents. It's like I'm the oldest of 6 sisters and 3 brothers. My mother raised 3 girls and 3 boys on her own. Of course, my father and her were high school sweethearts, and he went on to have a couple of siblings, additional siblings for me. But kindness helped me because it took a community to raise me. It took a community because my mom had me really young. I was fortunate enough, to have my grandmother, who I could remember at 5, 6 years old. She would go to different people's homes on, random days just to check on them, to make sure that they had, enough food to eat, or they had taken their medication. Some of these people I didn't even, know, but I just remember going with her, knowing that she was doing this out of the kindness of her heart, not even getting paid for it. Kindness is my high school basketball coach, who was my coach from 7th grade all the way through 12th grade, all the way through high school, who had a son who was my age. And he treated me as if I was his own son. Everywhere that they went as a family, him, his wife, his son, and his daughter, I was the 3rd kid that they had. He never asked me for anything. All he ever asked me was to, be a great person and be a good friend to his son. And all the kindness that he showed me prepared me academically, mentally, physically, to be able to go to that next level of college and get that education that I didn't have to pay for over here. It was all on scholarship, fortunately.
And do you think that without having that person who was kind to you, without having that witness to your, let's say, your humanity, without having that, would you have become a different person?
Leon, I can easily say that I very, very fast could have become a very different person. As I mentioned, I'm the oldest of a total of 6 sisters and 3 brothers. And my younger 2 brothers, they didn't have the same athletic abilities that I had. And they had the same coach, but they didn't have that son that was with them all the time that allowed him to be around them as much. And my younger 2 brothers, I mean, they've kind of gotten themselves together at this point in their lives, but they've gone down a life of, criminal and mischief, being in and out of jail, just having that criminal record. And that could have easily been me if it were not for people like my high school basketball coach and even my history teacher in high school always pushing me to take the difficult class and not taking the easy way out, knowing that it would pay off in the end. So, I mean, it's important that we as especially as adults, even as young people, that we look deeper into the eyes of the young people that we see and just realize that at one point that was us and we needed somebody to believe in us. So we get to believe in everybody. We get to do this and we get to do it all together and we get to make the world a better place, Leon.
And why do you think that you chose to shine a light of kindness on people, yet there are others who choose not to shine that light? I know that it's, for me, it's because we have that witness, that person that looks after us, right? That person that makes us feel like we have value. But if you were to pinpoint exactly why it is that you have this desire to shine that light onto people, where would it be? Where would that moment in your life have come?
I would have to say that to give my high school basketball coach credit again, in 7th grade, he talked about how he had been a coach it was probably 25 years at that point. And there had been so many great athletes that had come through that never progressed because they didn't take care of the things off the court, being good to people, developing a positive reputation to where people would speak up for you. And at that point, I realized that I needed to surround myself not only with good people, but with a group of friends who had similar goals as myself. And those goals were to not get in trouble, were to go out and help with different things around town, go to the elementary school and tutor young kids. And as a result of that, Leon, I ended up having 5 to 7 friends who not only graduated high school with honors, but ended up, going to college, playing sports. And by me surrounding myself with people who had wanted to do good things, I continued to do that throughout my life. I always steered away from the people who were, looking to do things that would get them in trouble or doing things that would harm other people. Because growing up, not having a lot, I often remember how it felt looking at other people and what they had. And when people would give to me, I remember how it made me feel, and it made me feel great. And that was one of the great things also about being a professional athlete and being a Globetrotter, just being able to look into people's eyes from so many different parts of the world who couldn't even necessarily speak the same language as you, and know that you're giving them joy and they're giving you joy back just through a simple act or a smile or a handshake or spin of a basketball on the finger. And these are the things that motivate me and inspire me. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it.
Me too. So it's great you talked about the travel aspect of the Globetrotters. What did you learn from your travels? Because for me, I think the greatest thing that I learned was that travel is the school of life. And when I was a kid, I would never listen in school. I just couldn't function. But the moment I started to travel, I learned so much about the world. So what would you say if someone was to say to you, well, what's the greatest lesson you learned from all of your travels? What do you think that would be?
I would say one of the greatest lessons that I've learned through all my travels is that a lot of the material things that we have don't mean as much as we think. And we should be grateful for the things that we have. Traveling to countries like India, parts of China, some of these third world countries, parts of Mexico, and just seeing how we live in America and how we value so many materialistic things, and then to travel in some of these different places, especially I remember being on The Amazing Race, just being in places like India and people willing to just stop whatever it is they're doing in the middle of their day to assist you, to help you get, from a certain point, expecting nothing in return except to see the joy on your face once you've accomplished, whatever particular task, that it was at hand. And these are things that I want the world to understand, and how it's important to value the relationships that we meet, that we have with the people that we meet around the world, because, the random person that you think can't help you out or may not be the person who you think can advance you, may be the person that you need to get you over the hump, maybe the person, that you need to get you on the stage to talk about kindness and the importance of it. And that's what I've learned, throughout the course of the travel in the world. Love, kindness is something that doesn't cost a thing. And my motto is kindness is free. As long as you give that kindness away, with no expectations, open up your heart and let it be free, you'll be fulfilled with it 10 times, as much as if you just hold on to it. And a lot of times with kindness, it's a lot of us are just feeding into it with the way the internet and things like that are set up today. The phone will send you whatever you're searching for. I'm searching for kindness. I'm figuring out a way to make the world a better place. I'm searching for people who are doing good deeds. And as a result of that, those are the things that are being sent toward me. And so it's just a matter of digging deep and surrounding yourself with people who want to do good, who want to be good. And we all have it within us. And it's something that costs us nothing.
I always tell people that kindness to me is universal. It is part of who we are. Yes, the bad stuff is also part of who we are, but the good stuff is part of who we are. And you basically said, let's concentrate on the good, as opposed to concentrating always on the bad. No one's perfect. I don't know you very well. I've known you for 15 minutes, right? You're not a good guy, but you have bad days. I have bad days. We all have bad days.
Absolutely.
Right? There's no perfection.
There's not at all. And I mean, kindness just, throughout my Globetrotter years, I didn't really have a motto or a slogan. And then I just remember like the second year, I think on the team, they asked me, said, what's your motto or what's your slogan? And it was, it was patience and kindness, patience and kindness. And I've always been patient throughout my life. And as a result of being patient, I've always been able to, been taken care of through kindness, through people stepping up for me. I mean, everything that's happened in my life, it has been because of kindness and the reputation that I've been able to set and the way I carry myself each and every day. And Leon, I'll give you another story about how kindness has helped me in my life. And I talk about my high school basketball career. There was a guy who was 2 years ahead of me. I mean, I was a senior in high school, 17, 18 years old. He was 19 and already in college. He was from my town. And at this time, I didn't have a lot of schools recruiting me to play basketball, but I was a great athlete and I had taken care of everything that I needed to take care of in the classroom. And this guy who was already in college at, a top Division I school in the country came to the game and he saw me play a couple of basketball games over the course of a Christmas break. And he said to me, I'm going to tell him about you. I'm going to tell Centenary College about you. That was a school that he went to. And long story short, Leon, that's how I got my basketball scholarship. This school never saw me play a game, but they knew that his word was good and they knew that my grades were good enough. And just on reputation and speaking with the counselors and different teachers, they gave me a full scholarship to a school that I never would have been able to pay for in my life, which in turn set me on my way, which in turn has me able to speak to people like yourself today and spread kindness around the world as I'm connected with so many people and have met so many people throughout the course of 90 countries of traveling.
You never know what happens, right?
He changed my life. He changed the course of my life.
Are you still in touch with him?
Oh, I am absolutely still in touch with him. He married my sister eventually down the road. He's my brother-in-law now. So that's a decent trade-off, right?
So now we know why he was being a little bit extra kind, maybe.
I hadn't really thought about it like that. But I think that you're absolutely, I know you are. You are.
So when you mentioned that you speak with kids, yeah? When you finished speaking, giving your speech, what do you want the kids to take away? And I asked that question because, maybe there won't be many kids listening to this. Maybe there will be. But ultimately, we're just big kids. Yeah. So we all have that little kid inside us that still drives us. So what is it that when you speak to the kids at these schools, you want them to get out of your story of, being a Globetrotter?
I want them to understand that anything is possible. And it's important to treat the person next to you better than you can even expect to be treated. A kid like myself, probably there's kids out there like me, grew up in a single parent household, maybe being the victim of domestic disputes, seeing that. But still, it's still possible for anything to happen. And I encourage, when I'm speaking to a group of kids, I encourage the popular kids, which are my kids now in the school, my son and my daughter. They're pretty popular kids because they're athletic. They're, captain of the cheerleading squad. And I encourage them at the beginning of each school year or whenever throughout the course of the year, when new kids come in, to introduce yourself to them, invite them in to be a part of your group. You never know, again, who that kid is. That kid could be, the next Bill Gates, the next person, the next Leon, the next Flight Time Lang that's you're ready to change the world. So I tell them the importance of connecting, the importance of being kind to your teachers, because they're the ones who can also propel you. I talk to them about the importance now of social media. The things that you put out there on social media now, my son, 14, 15, it's a part of your reputation. And based on what you do now, you could be 21 years old. They can go back and look at something that you did 13 years old and base your whole reputation off of what you did. So I encourage them to live their lives, be careful, but just treat people better than you can ever expect to be treated. And I just give them examples like I've given you of the blessings that have happened to me from people being kind. But at the same time, it's important to be kind, not because of what you can get in return, but because of the way it can make you feel.
And to me, I don't know if you can relate to this, I'm pretty sure you will be able to, is that kindness is a win-win, right? Like when I'm kind to you, you win, but so do I. And I think that in this society that we live in, it's so important to get that part of the message out, that it's not just a selfless act per se. It is a communion between two people and maybe more. When I'm kind to you, you're going to win, but so am I.
Leon, kindness is absolutely, it's a win-win. And we live, again, in such a competitive world, and the way that the world works, we're always kind of on the fence, but we have to be able to see things from other people's perspectives. And that's an act of being kind as well, being able to see things from another person's point of view. We don't always have to be able to necessarily agree. We can agree to disagree, but we can be respectful of other people's opinions and still work on the things that we, may agree on and can actually help make a difference or move the needle in certain aspects of our life. So, I mean, it's, man, there's so many ways to describe kindness and the impacts, that it gets to have on the world. And I'm super excited, Leon, about this past year, as a result of COVID. I'm not excited about that, but I'm excited because I've seen so many different people come out of the woodworks, just being kind and giving and, just wanting to figure out how to get through this situation that we're going through in this world. And I'm looking forward to getting back out there in front of people and high-fiving and hugging and seeing the world the way we did before this thing happened that we're going through, and spread more kindness.
Yeah. It is kindness sometimes has a bad rap, right? Because people think, if I'm kind, I'll be weak. If I'm kind,
right,
squash me, blah, 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 right? And of course, I get it. You get it. But the truth is that I never suggesting to people, as I'm sure you're not, that you just let someone walk all over you. Don't let anyone walk all over you under any circumstances, right? But you come from a place of love. You come from a place of vulnerability. You come from a place of kindness, of goodness, of empathy, of compassion. But there's a boundary, right? And that boundary is don't mess with me, right?
Don't take my kindness for weakness.
Exactly. Have you had any experiences where, people have said to you, maybe on social media or wherever, where like, what are you talking about kindness? Kindness is the worst thing you could do. I'm not going to be kind. Or any kind of moments where you've had to kind of react to that?
Well, fortunately, Leon, I haven't had a lot of those negative moments on the internet. I've been well received, and I'm really, really happy. Like even when I'm speaking with my former teammates, we do Zoom meetings every Wednesday, every other Wednesday, and we just kind of connect. And I'm always known as the guy that is kind of the moderator, the person that's not going to really be mean, but if I do say something, they respect it. So I feel like people, I did have one person ask me on the internet a couple of weeks ago, how do you remain so kind to people if they're not kind to you? That was a question that was asked for me. And I told them, I was just taught to kill people with kindness, and as long as I'm kind and I continue to be kind, eventually they have to come back around, or I figure out a way to really distance myself from them and navigate myself to another group of people who are, working in that same atmosphere or same energy as myself. And another time I remember being on the road with the Globetrotters. My teammate, his name's Derek Grant. He's a great motivational speaker now. He asked me a question. He said, Herb, how are you always so nice to people? And I told him that it's because I'm always able to see the other person's perspective. I'm always kind of able to put myself in that person's position and imagine what they're going through. Even when I'm asked questions that I may not want to answer, I'm able to kind of take a deep breath and respond in a proper way. And this works in life. This works in my relationships with my fiance. Before I say something that may be unkind, I'll think about the words coming out of my mouth, and I imagine how these words are going to make me feel. And then I figure out a way to come back in a way that's, more appealing, in a way that we can come to a solution further. So, I feel like oftentimes kindness is just a matter of putting yourself in another person's position for a minute, a person who may not be as fortunate as yourself, and imagine how it would make you feel if somebody would come and give you a pick me up or an extra hand. And that's just how I see kindness. And that's how I, kind of navigate. I'm the person that's, walking through the airport, and, if I see a person do a kind act, or if it look like a person may not be having a nice day, I have pop sockets. I'll hand them to them, and, hey, kindness is free. That's what it says on them. So me just being able to inspire people, even through my Instagram, I try to, every day, every other day, post something positive so that people can have something positive to look forward to instead of something negative. And being the oldest of a total of 6 sisters and 3 brothers, when you're following people on social media like Facebook and Instagram, you see the repost of the negative things that people put up there. And I just remember challenging my siblings. I said, look, it's okay to post the negative, but everybody's reposting the negative stuff. I said, how about if we post 2 or 3 positive things and then post that negative / conversation thing that we want to have all the attention on? We could navigate and get through all the negative stuff that's being put out there and get a little bit more kindness and positive things put out there, which is also something that I'm doing with my Facebook group, the Kindness is Free Facebook group, which I'd love to have you be a part of.
I will definitely be a part of it. And it's really interesting. I didn't know that. Well, I didn't know anything until this conversation, but I didn't know that your motto was kindness is free. I want to tell you a little story. So, wow, let me see that again. Kindness is free. Oh, yeah. I like it. Have you ever?
And the pop sockets.
Oh, very cool. Have you ever done any speeches in prisons?
I've not actually ever done a speech in a prison.
Message me afterwards, and I'll put you in touch with someone, and they'll help you to do that.
Okay.
So I had an opportunity to, as you know, to travel around the world, relying on kindness. And I was in Pittsburgh, and I ended up chatting with this homeless chap who I didn't know was homeless, and his name was Tony. And I ended up sleeping on the streets of Pittsburgh for 10 hours. And I always tell people that he taught me 2 powerful things. The first thing that he taught me is that kindness is free. And it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how little money you have, etc., etc., etc. Because kindness, however imperfectly given or received, is free. And it's so simple. And your message is so important because we are bombarded with negativity, right? We are bombarded with like all these bad things that are happening in the world. And we think, well, we can't live this way, we can't live that way, blah, 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 blah. But your T-shirt explains it beautifully, exactly the same as Tony. Kindness is free.
It costs us nothing. It costs us nothing to be kind, Leon. And I mean, it's just, it's not sad, but it's a blessing, and it's exciting that the word is starting to get around, that it's okay to be kind. Kind is cool. More and more people are, coming out. And I've been, like I said, following people like yourself and the story of Tony in Pittsburgh, so many kind people in that city, which I had a chance to tour as well. But people like Tony, people like my high school basketball coach, Coach Williams, are the epitome of, what kindness is all about, and putting people like myself and yourself on platforms to be able to share, show people the importance of kindness, to give people a perspective that they may not have seen before, with you traveling on the Kindness Diaries, which of course I did watch, and I'm a big fan of, because like I said, in searching for kind people, you come across people like yourself. I've been fortunate enough to start a podcast and interview a couple of people, which I hope to have you on at some time. And recently I had a guy on called Kind Conrad. I don't know if you know who Conrad is, but Conrad talks about, his journey and how he goes to different Starbucks and McDonald's and starts, passing down, like, I'm going to pay for the person behind me, and starting these chain reactions of kindness. I mean, and this is just something that what if more of us decided to do things like this? What if more of us decided to smile once we pass someone walking, across the street or through an airport or through a busy intersection? I mean, a smile costs nothing. And I just do it for the fun of it. I'll walk and look at someone sometimes, and maybe they don't have a look of joy on their face, and I'll just smile at them. And just to see them smile back, knowing that I gave them an opportunity to smile, a chance that they wouldn't have had otherwise, because they're just kind of passing along, and people don't do that as much as they used to. But we get to do that, Leon, and you know what the power of kindness is and what the power of love is all about, because you are a walking person in that actual faith.
As often as I can, right? I tell you a little story. I was giving a speech prior to COVID to these kids, and this kid, maybe 12 years old, puts his hand up and says, "Mr. Leon." I'm like, "Yes, what's the question?" He's like, "Mr. Leon, have you ever been mean?" I was like, "Oh, I'm going to lie to the child." And then I was like, "No, you're not going to lie to the child. You're going to tell the child the truth."
Have to be authentic.
Yeah. And the truth is, of course I've been mean, because I'm just like you, and I make mistakes. And, it's such an important piece. And that's why I'm kind of repeating myself a little bit, because I want people to understand that it is not a perfect science. Mandela wasn't perfect. Gandhi wasn't perfect. Martin Luther King wasn't perfect. You are not perfect. I am not perfect. No one listening to this is perfect. But if you have a commitment to how you show up, if you have a commitment to how you make other people feel, and that commitment comes from a place of love, then lives can be changed. And clearly we have a globetrotter, right, here, who's traveled to nearly 100 countries, who's played in front of tens and tens of thousands of people, who's motivating people with his speeches, and whose driving force is a foundation of kindness, a foundation of service, a foundation of giving back. And that is truly a beautiful thing that many people forget. They think their foundation is, let's make as much money as possible. There's no issue of making money. Make as much money as you want.
Nothing wrong with that.
All you're doing is making money, and you're not touching people from the center of your humanity. You're not serving, then you're not truly living, right?
Absolutely not. I mean, that's one of the great things with some of these, great rich people now. I love the fact that they're actually giving back and doing that, like you do. That's what you do. That's what I do. And I also had to learn to be kind to myself. That was one of the things that I really had to learn post Globetrotter. Not that I wasn't kind to myself, but there are certain things that I could have done then that I've learned later on that starts within myself, like taking time out to meditate, taking time out to read, taking time out to take a walk, to clear my head, taking taking a step back and just looking at things from a different point of view. These are things that are involve you being kind to yourself, because that's where it all starts. And if you're not taking care of this body, that God has given us, then we're not going to be able to spread any more kindness. That's going to be the end of our kindness. But if we do what we're supposed to do and build a foundation like, you're doing and I'm doing right now, even when we're done, our work will still be being carried on. Our journey, our vision of making the world a better place just through love and kindness.
And and tell me, how do you inspire people to come from a place of love? You have a platform. You were a Globetrotter for 18 years. How do you use that and inspire people to see and feel that coming from their heart is the way to be, and connecting to their humanity is the way to be?
Well, I mean, the way that I do it is just about just going out and being active. I mean, even feeding homeless people, this was something that had become really big to me a couple of years ago, going through leadership and transformation. Just remembering how my grandmother would take care and feeding people, and just going out there and having conversations with people. One of the things that happened to me during my Globetrotter days, and when texting and all this stuff became so popular, was I had lost my ability to have a regular conversation, with an everyday person. So one of the first things that I did post-career was that I ended up traveling out here to California, where I live out right now, and I started driving for Lyft. I wanted to have conversation with everyday people and figure out, what was moving this world, what are people struggling with, and at the same time realize that some of the things that I have going on aren't necessarily that big of a deal. So I need to be kinder to myself and figuring out, okay, what am I complaining about? I have these advantages, and here I am. This person just got out of my car and they're struggling to pay, their bill or get their next meal. So, there's just so much with kindness and spreading it. And I'm just eager to team up with people like yourself and just continue on this mission. And, you speak of the Globetrotters used to play in prisons back in the day. You talk of speaking in prisons. Like I said, I've had brothers in and out, and I know what that's all about. I've had friends and former teammates, who I've kind of, kept a relationship with, who have been through these situations. So I can relate to them, and, any opportunity to share with people the journey that I've been on and how I can relate, and how I've had people that are in their situations and be able to tell them stories of how they come out of them is an amazing opportunity for me.
That's beautiful. So let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask you two questions. What was the best day you had as a Globetrotter, and what was the worst day?
Oh, man. The best day that I had as a Globetrotter, I would say it was my first year on the team. It was back in 1999, 2000 tour. And just being able to go back to my home state of Arkansas and be able to perform in front of my family, my mom, my dad, my high school basketball coach, who I mentioned to you, all of my, siblings and friends. I would say that was probably my best day of being a Globetrotter. And I've had some great days of being a Globetrotter. I've met President Obama twice at the White House. I had an opportunity to meet him and play a little basketball with him. And even just 6 years ago, I had a chance to go to the Vatican and spin the basketball on Pope Francis's finger, and to be able to look into a man's eyes like that and kind of have a laugh with him. I mean, I've been blessed, and I know that it's important for me to remain humble and be able to share these experiences, because they all happen for a reason. And to answer the second part of your question, it would have to be when my Globetrotter career ended. That was my worst day. It was 18 years. It was unexpected. I was player coach. I was, kind of felt like I was going in the right direction. I had never been reprimanded or told that I was doing anything wrong. It's just the phone call came and they said, hey, we're going in another direction. And at that point, I had to shift and figure out what my purpose was. And that purpose was to share, to author these books, to get out there and talk about these experiences that the universe and God had created for me, because they happened for a reason. And although that was the worst day, I'm still so blessed to have had that opportunity and to be able to say that I did that and to be able to share these experiences as a result of that. But Yeah, that was a super tough day. At 40 years old, after doing the same thing for 18 years consistently, and it coming to an end, it was tough. But the tough get going when it gets tough, and that's what I am. I'm tough. I'm kind. I'm strong, and people have always taken care of me, and I take care of myself, and I'm working in the right space with gratitude and just remaining to be connected and treat people even better than I could be expected to be treated, Leon.
There are many people that when their athletic careers end, they fall apart. And
Right.
then there are people who, when their athletic careers end, become stronger, go through, some ups and downs, right? But they become stronger. So we've talked about your coach. Would you think that part of the reason why you ended up being stronger was because of your coach all those years ago? Or did he have something to do with it, do you think?
I think he had a lot to do with it. I also think that it just had a lot to do with my upbringing. I was fortunate enough to be able to be raised by my grandparents as well. I spent a lot of time with my great-grandparents, great-grandmother, great-grandfather, just being around older, wiser people who didn't really do a lot of complaining. They were just hardworking people who were grateful for everything that they had. But definitely, my high school basketball coach, along with, family members, grandparents, aunts, uncles, they played a big role in the person that I am today. And I have so much, gratitude, for them. And I'm just hopeful and excited that I get to continue to spread their legacies through the way that I carry myself.
And what is something that you want to do that you haven't done? Like, you've met Obama, which is pretty amazing. You've met the Pope, equally pretty amazing. Like, what's not necessarily what's next, but what is like something that you are really looking forward to achieving?
One of the things that I'm really looking forward to achieving is that I want to start having sports retreats, with basketball and different sports, and just bring kids in and not only teach them sports, teaching them positive mindset. Again, the importance of being kindness to yourself, the importance of connection, the importance of meditation, and just the importance of having goals and not letting people step in front of you and deteriorate those goals, and the importance of surrounding yourself with people who have similar goals as yourself. These are all things that I have not. I've done, but on the bigger level at a retreat is something that I'm looking forward to doing. And I want to jump out of an airplane. I've never jumped out of an airplane before. And I'm Flight Time. That's my nickname is Flight Time, and I've yet to jump out of an airplane.
I think you should do it. Have you ever done a bungee jump?
Actually, I've jumped off of the stratosphere in Vegas 7 times. It's not really considered a bungee jump. It's a controlled free fall. But I did have an opportunity to be one of the first people to jump off the stratosphere when they opened that ride up. I think it was about 10 years ago when they started the jumps off the stratosphere. What about yourself?
I've bungee jumped a couple of times. I've never had the courage to jump out of a plane. Maybe we should jump out of a plane together.
Hey, I'm open to it.
Not strapped together, because then we're finished.
Yeah. We'd have to have some experts attached to us. But yeah, maybe we should. I'm open to that.
You said you live in California. Which part of California?
Well, right now I'm living in Sacramento, California. My fiance and I, we just built a house down in the Tampa area. It was part of my vision with wanting to have retreats and start to train some kids in basketball. A beautiful piece of property down there, which was featured on HGTV, but I'm actually getting ready to travel down there in the next couple of weeks and get things set up and rolling. But Tampa, Florida area between Sacramento and Tampa is where I am, but mostly Tampa for the rest of the year. Okay,
cool. Well, look, man, if you ever find yourself in LA, please let me know. We'll meet up, have a coffee, and then if we have the courage, we'll drive straight to a place where we can jump out of a plane.
Sounds like a plan. I mean, I love it. Thank you.
All right, cool. Well, look, man, first of all, thank you so much for agreeing to be on this crazy podcast where the host has no idea who he's going to talk to, right? And for, playing along, because I've been on lots of podcasts, and it's always a pleasure. It's an honor. But what I noticed was that they know more about me than I know about myself. Right. And I'm like, wow. And I thought, well, why don't we do a podcast where we don't know each other at all? And there's no Googling. There's pretty much nothing. And we have a connection that is as pure as it can be, because there's just two human beings
Right.
chat about who knows what. I mean, I had no idea what was going to happen. I'm assuming you had a little bit more of an idea, but not that much. And here we are chatting and connecting, and that's what it is, a spontaneous moment of conversation, as they say.
And that's what it's all about. And I'm super grateful for, you even taking out time and the people with your production of allowing me to even be a part of your show, Leon.
Well, Herb, thank you very, very much. And like I said, when you find yourself in LA, please let me know.
Absolutely, man. Kindness is free.
Yes, it is. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's Leon here, aka the Kindness Guy. If you like my videos, which I hope you do, don't forget to press the subscribe button and also to ring the little bell so that the notifications notify you that I have a new video out in the world.